James.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new face. Who will be the next face of the NBA?
Ant-Man. Ant-Man is the next face of the NBA. Number one, he's a dog and he has that mindset. And we all like a bad boy. Ain't no trading jerseys and you this and that. We talking and having all this conversation. No, I'm trying to kill everything in front of me. That's what Ant talk about. And then just everything that comes with his game. I could shoot it. I could cross you over. I can make everybody around me better. And I can give you the highlight play whenever I want to give you the highlight play when I fly in this air like MJ. And the personality. Ant-Man is everything the face of the NBA needs, the way he plays. And I think everybody is having an opportunity right now with the playoffs and him being the only game on to truly see how Ant-Man is. But Ant-Man is the next face of the NBA. No questions asked.
TJ?
Man, I gotta agree with him.
Come on now.
Wow.
First time all show.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's the next face of the
We
NBA
almost done
starting
today.
next season. It's his intensity. It's the way he plays on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. You go 0-3 against the Suns in the regular season, you sweep them in the playoffs. Sweep them in the playoffs, but you couldn't beat them in the regular season. Yeah. And so it's the way his game, like the Minnesota Timberwolves just swept the Phoenix. We talking about blowing up the Phoenix Suns because of him.
Yeah.
It's because of him.
Yeah, man.
And because if he's not on the Timberwolves, they're still playing. They're still playing. And so it has to be Anthony Edwards. I say start of next season, the NBA will push and we'll see more games, nationally televised games of the Minnesota Timberwolves than we've ever seen. And it's because of that man.
Yep. I would agree with that if they get past the Denver Nuggets. If he gets
the Nuggets.
If he gets knocked out in the next round, it's going to be awfully hard to prop him up. And right now, let's face it, I think we have a vacuum. Is that fair to say? With Steph, KD, and LeBron, and I don't. It's hard to imagine any of them reclaiming the face of the league for where their respective teams are, because you've got to be playing for titles to be the face
and age-wise
of the league, right? And I agree with both of you that Anthony Edwards has all the requisite qualities to be the face. But we got a guy coming, and I know that this has never happened before, but we got a guy coming.
It ain't happening, Rick.
That is a different animal. And
Luka?
And the league is in a different place. And that's why I believe Victor Wembanyama is going to end up being the next face. I don't know when the next face is actually declared. We may have like a little bit of a quiet period here. But Wembanyama, normally one of the reasons why we don't have international players is because they don't speak the language well. They don't seem to have their foreign culture aspect to them. And we've never really looked at him as necessarily being the best player in the league. But he is so unique that I believe he's the one who can break that trend, who can be that guy, because he speaks the language better than some Americans.
You said they got to win, they got to compete. How far away are they?
That's
how far away?
Not far at all. They held back that team this year because they wanted to go to the lottery one more time. They wanted to add one more piece.
Not far away.
Not far away. No.
Of doing what, Slick?
Of
getting to the playoffs? Who they
without
got?
question, going to the playoffs.
Who they got?
But what?
The Spurs in the playoffs next year?
Yes, the Spurs are in the playoffs next year.
To me, it's not just being in the playoffs. One, I don't think that there will be another face of the NBA, truly, until LeBron is done, because LeBron's shadow looms so large over the NBA still, even though he is not in the playoffs. We are talking about LeBron today.
No question.
We aren't talking about the Timberwolves. So I hear Ant is really the only one that I'm willing to hear an argument about right now, because if they are able to beat the Nuggets and they are going deep into the playoffs, then more and more fans are going to get introduced to him. There is an element of playing when it matters most, playing deep into the summer, that brings in the casual fan and introduces them to the stories, to the players, to the passion, to the style that you're not going to get from watching night in and night out during the regular season from hardcore fans. And when you're talking about the face of a league, that has to be somebody that does more than be a great player. There are so many great players in the league right now. None of them are discussing as the face of the league. And the reason for that is there is no cloaked room of scribes deciding who the face of the NBA will be. The market decides that. Yes. The people decide that. we might be entering the last election we ever have, but the people will always decide who the NBA face of the NBA is. It is not up to us. They have to be marketable. They have to have marketing campaigns with their shoe deals. They have to be able to be relatable, but still kind of hateable. It's a polarization that a superstar has where you're rooting for them, but you also don't want them to be too successful. LeBron just naturally has that. We debate and argue about LeBron constantly, even though he is an unbelievable player with a pretty much spotless reputation, who has won at the very high level. He is still polarizing. It is naturally in the personality that he has. I do think that Ant has that as well and has that potential. But you also have to win, because the winning to me loops down around to the last part of what is on that checklist, which is crossover into the entertainment space. When you are popping up on SNL, when you are popping up on Time Magazine, when you are talked about in rooms that have nothing to do with the NBA, that is when you have really truly transcended into your grandmother knows his name. They might not know what team he plays for, but you've heard of this player before, and it's because they have transcended the sport. And to me, that is what a face does, and none of us can decide who that player is going to be. They're going to naturally step into that spotlight.
You said you haven't heard an argument outside of Anthony Edwards. You wouldn't say that Victor Wembanyama hasn't already transcended as far as a name that the casual person?
I think people know who Wemby is. I think he has the best arguments for potential. But what I have to see is how it translates outside of the market. And I do think that is what Ant will also have to overcome. Because if you are in a, I know, listen, everybody has access to everything now, I get it. But there are still major brands. If you're playing for the Lakers, if you're playing for the Knicks, if you're playing for Boston, even if you're playing for Miami, if you're playing for Dallas, like there are Golden State, like there are big markets that still, Chicago, like that still very much matters. It's not, I don't make it up. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you how it goes. So if you can overcome that, you can be a LeBron in Cleveland and overcome that. But LeBron is such an outlier, transcendent unicorn of a situation that we've known about him since he was 16 years old. The expectations coming into the league, the spotlight immediately, the deals, the shoe deal, the attention, the expectations are so different from anything that we have currently brewing. If they don't beat the Nuggets,
sounds a lot like Victor Wembanyama.
If Tatum wins,
if they're not good next year, nobody's tripping.
Fair, they have to be good. They have to matter.
If Tatum wins a championship this year in Boston, he ain't gonna be it.
I don't think he has that personality. And honestly, I don't think people look at the Boston Celtics and think that Jason Tatum is the driving force for why they are what they are. They have so many good players. He's the best of them. You can make that case. But I don't think you think of the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum the way you think of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards.
But we also have the best player in the league right now in Jokic.
Yeah.
He is the best player, and he is not the face of the NBA.
No.
So all of those other outside factors do matter. And again, I don't get to choose this. Like I don't make these rules. I don't get to choose this. It's not always the best player that is that person who's in the spotlight, who is dictating the conversation outside of the league about the league. And that's really what the face is. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.